a lot backstage, and I was like the only one that had any sort of, faith in Super Eagle, to be completely honest, right? Like, you're like, why would you ever, put faith in him?
Well, that's not completely true. I talked to Super Eagle. Sorry, what? Are you trying to throw me under the bus? I talked to Super Eagle, and he himself said, I don't know why I qualified. I'm surprised to be here. Those are his words. But he is on the brink of making it through, and we will see him here in this lobby, so I'm super excited. Of course, all the way back to Game 1 yesterday, we're also going to see Darkest once more, and Darkest has been performing ever since the Super Bowl. I think Peter and I have been fighting over them as a favorite Dark Horse player, because at this point, I'm not even sure if we can keep calling them a Dark Horse, because they're just so great.
Ging has had this title of best Turkish player in the world for many sets now, most consistent, just always comes up, always performs, has been to Worlds already many times. Is this finally the set that a player is able to take this away from him? Darkest, I think, is making a very good argument for it. Off of GSC3, a great performance, and now coming into the regional finals once again in the top 8.
Absolutely a player we need to look out for, right? And again, today is probably the most important day, and that sounds like really bad to say, but making the cut today gives you such an incredible chance at making it at least to the last chance qualifier, right? Just have to avoid finishing 8th tomorrow, and this is going to go through the mind of these players that are relatively high up in the standings right now. Like, they know they just need to pull out their A game right now in this game.
Mirage will be duelist dexterity for this game, so good amount of combat strength on the board. You can definitely play Yone from this spot, Deja as well. A unit that has been so relevant today. We saw it yesterday as well with Lumarpin, but today as well with Solo Kasang, with a few other players that were going for that Deja carry, and were able to turn that into a win in a top 4.
I'm sorry, I need to bring it back to Darkest as the augments roll on in, because on day 1, we saw an awful lot of Guardian comps coming from them, and now we're already on Guardian 2 once more, so it seems like this game might be their way.
Mirage Crest, Guild Crest, both possibilities, but Portable 4 is one of the highest, or the second highest pick augment in the game, because it's, again, like Celestial Blessing 2, like Thrill of the Hunt, just very versatile. Pretty much every item you get, you can use it on some key units. Shio Yu loves that's Defiance, Graves loves a whole lot of different items, Pantheon as well. Pretty much all the premier carries, tank or damage, love the items you get from Portable Forge.
And I think that's worth noting here with Enemy Visits now on the most recent patch when we are playing on 12.21. The healing from Enemy Visits now shows in the healing overview on the screen. It didn't before, right? So like, while we already have known that it's always been a super impactful item, now we get to see what it is exactly here. And Raiko 2-1 has Clouded Mind online.
And Darkest, this is a throwback to yesterday's Game 1. Also slammed the early Zeeks. We see once again this player valuing the tempo, trying to go for that win streak early, trying to keep healthy all throughout stages 2 and 3 to be in a good position to have a good placement in stage 4.
Yeah, and Cluttered Mind received a tiny nerf, but players have been saying that you can feel it. So I'm very curious to see how this one performs out for Raiko.
So the big thing about Clouded Mind now is that if you get an opener where you might get, like, let's say you get 2 free drops, right? You get like a Volibear and like a Diana. That makes the augment a lot worse now. But if you instead you get an opener with a lot of one-cost units, you don't feel the nerf as much.
Interesting, Darkest had a Yone in the shop there, has a bow, and Zeke's Herald already slammed. Did not decide to buy it. I think this is a player that's saying, everyone is playing Yone. I know how good I can be just playing my own comp, my own version of TFT. I'm not going to enter this battle for all the Yones. I'm not going to grief myself maybe by allowing myself to play a comp that's contested by everyone else.
Yeah, that's a good decision to make in a tournament where we continuously see players get knocked out because they're competing on the same comp. We can't always all go top 3 with the same comp. It's just not very realistic. And we can see Crescent on the other side of the board here going for that rich get richer.
Senna 2, though, with a bow early on, the Zeke's Herald as well. Senna 2, one of the kind of was very good at the start of the set. Now other one-cost carries, buffs to Ezreal, etc. have made them maybe a bit more appealing, but Senna 2 still, the burst damage, the AoE damage on one-star units that don't have too much HP yet, it's still going to be incredibly good. Sometimes it's just lose streaking and guaranteed to kill off units, but now also here for a win streak.
Yes, now this could be Lagoon coming online just a second here. Talia now an option. Interesting speaking here, just keeping the Guardian in play here, but this could be a level 5 coming in here. Last second though, just not to try to catch out the players in the lobby.
And that would be such a darkest thing to do, so we're going to keep our eyes open if that little pop-up will show. But for now, we're going to go over to Raiko, who, like you said, there it is, level 5 from Super Eagle and Darkest, trying to maintain that streak. Lumarpin not going for that level, doesn't have the gold, it seems like, and is going to face off against Raiko here.
Curious that Crescent picked up Rich Get Richer, an augment that does not have a very good placement stat in GM+. Looking at all the numbers, something that I've talked about and bashed personally on the broadcasting here, that overall Rich Get Richer does not do too much for you when you have so many great econ traits that are able to propel your gold that much higher when you have Shimmer skill. But Weird, do you agree that Rich Get Richer is not a great pick right now?
We got a quick glimpse of the spot. He had 3 Lagoon and one of them being the Kaiser already as well. So he does have a pretty good, trampoline almost. Not even like a foothold, like a trampoline. You can just jump up and then.
I want a trampoline too.
You need to hold on to something if you want to go up.
Actually, it's a really bad analogy
though.
because it goes back down on a trampoline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
So you're proving my point. Rich Get Richer is not a good augment.
He got a lift, okay? He got like an industrial lift.
And then, and then when everyone else has combat augments in stage 4, he's going to start losing out because he has Rich Get Richer instead. Thank you, Wida. Perfect. Okay, business explanation there from both of us.
All right, you guys. We are in a carousel, and I can see a lot of bows on the overall components powered by Blitz.gg here, as well as in the carousel. So this lobby might just get a little speedier.
To no one's surprise, we saw AD performing, not performing better, but there was more play rate for AD comms than AP yesterday. And in this case, all these bows could, of course, also become just Rage Blades that could be, Kaisa and some AP boards can utilize bows to some extent, or GG Rots maybe as well for the front line. But overall, the bows are a little bit too appealing for things like Xayah, things like Yone.
Well, Resident, non-combat trade hater, what's your thoughts on trade sector?
It depends on the spot. We saw a few players utilizing to a very good results earlier today. With Yone especially, allows you to roll so much more. And when reroll comps are back in the meta, like they are in this patch, it does, I think, perform a lot better. 3 patches ago, reroll was non-existent. You could not play reroll in any variation of it until we got to the Karma reroll part of 7.5. And now, trade sector, I think, a little bit more viable.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't have expected a re-roll player to bash on trade sector any other way, Panda, so thank you for that explanation there. And we're just going to have a look on the right side of the screen because Darkest's win streak was broken, and now everybody is moving closer once more. One more PvP round before we go into Crux.
Determined Investor is the Shimmer skill item that Crescent has online here. So I talked about gold. He's going to get gold from the augment, gold from the comp, gold from Shimmer skill, gold from everywhere. But will he have the combat strength to actually win out fights later on into the game?
I mean, on the board right now, there's a nice little graphic. It says 6 out of 6. That means that he is, in fact, level 6.
With 20 gold. That's a nice spot to be in for sure for Crescent. So Richard doing something special here for him. I think the question is, will he pay the price later on?
I think that the interesting thing for me as well here, as though, he could have made a Rage Blade if he really wanted to, but I think that this means that he is going to be treating this as a hardcore AP item holder.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to keep in mind, Raiko is on Cluttered Mine, and he just hit that level 6. So players are in a bit of a position where they need to keep up. They need to level and get those levels in to not fall off, because if they leave Raiko the way, where he's always 1 or 2 levels above of the rest, he's just going to keep on win streaking and destroy this lobby.
Yeah, and again, as well, David, now we have had a long discussion about, the stats of Rich Get Richer. You don't have to go for 70 econ every time. You can kind of treat it as just that initial 10 gold boost, and yes, everything above that is a bonus. And being able to be level 6, 20 gold right now is such a good spot in general.
Early on when I started playing TFT, it's at 6, and I used to get Rich Get Richer. I always went to 70 gold. And then as you start progressing through the ranks, you get to, GM, you get to places where there's so much pressure in every lobby, you cannot be at 70 gold. You have to utilize that gold to either level or roll or stabilize. I almost forgot that Rich Get Richer even has that function, Wida.
Interesting, something that's going on here. We are seeing, it's not a Lilia reroll just yet, but we are seeing 2 Lilias on the board of Revan. So that's going to give you just another chance to say that. But yeah, he's going to pick up an Ancient Tome here from the Crux.
3 gold augment, how nice.
That's a pretty good pickup there for Revan for sure. Diana as well.
The stars are aligning. Now he needs to go for Lilia.
Considering he's in, I think, the 30th or 29th spot in the standings, a little bit late for the stars to align, especially the Astral Star that he was playing earlier today. Those did not align for him at all, unfortunately.
That was so mean. That was so
How do you think I feel?
mean. But yeah, Raiko continues to streak the Cluttered Mind, doing him favors. You can see he's level 6, and the only player that is currently keeping up is Crescent. And in terms of gold, they're all looking pretty equal. Lakoko leading the pack with 40. Nice to have that 40 at 3-1.
We're going to see now the Yone with the Archangels. Not the most usual of builds. Wida, what do you think this might be for this Archangels? What do you think it's going to end up leading into, or makes, if you have any idea? Maybe, I mean, it's just the guild for now with the Sejuani in as well, with the very early Jace, the Twitch as well. For now, it's a win streak, really.
Yeah, I mean, I love a win streak. That's always something that we're looking for. And I feel like Raiko is just going to try and stack up the gold for now. Is going to find yet another win here. I saw he does have a Yone, but doesn't have a second bow to go for that rapid fire cannon that we are seeing on Yone so often. And he also has an Archangel currently on Yone, which seems a little bit off meta.
Still 96 HP though. Good spot to be in, and the 5-win streak especially at this point. The gold is going to be going down a little bit with most players leveling to 3-2 now. A nice, stable, boring, consistent silver augment pickup for the last game of day 2. The game where so much is on the line for not all the players, although of course pride is still on the line for everyone. Everyone wants to finish, top 10, top 15. No one wants to be 32nd in this tournament.
So something that's worth noting here, this is not a Yone reroll game, and it's Duelist Mirage right now. So with the scaling coming through on that Archangels, every second attack from Yone with the way up to Hunter,
Level 7.
It's gonna deal much more damage here. And again, nice transition, easy transition into the Deja with the best friends as well coming through in just a second.
Yeah, a really good catch. Definitely is going to make an awful lot of more sense with that duelist coming through here. We just saw Crescent hit a Kaisa too, so going to stabilize a little bit more. But Raiko definitely having an upper hand on the rest of the lobby. Will buy one more unit to make sure he gets the Cluttered Mind here, and is still looking for that Yone too.
That being said, only an Ezreal 1 as the item holder for now. If he finds the Deja soon, he is level 7, so these natural shops can get it for him throughout the stage 3. It would be a massive power spike, Wida. Going up from an Ezreal 1 to a Deja 1 is going to be massive, especially with these items that are already kind of handpicked for this Deja.
So with the setup here as well, like having a ranged damage source is much better than having the melee damage source here, because the Yone might very often get caught behind the front line where yes, it's just a one-star Ezreal, but again, as Ezreal has been getting more and more buffed over the last couple of patches, it does make it so that this Ezreal actually will do a lot more, especially with the Swift Shut-in.
Yeah, and we are seeing the augments on the left side of the screen come in. Lumarpin finding that thrill of the hunt always a little bit exciting to me. And we are on TFT Marx's board, who is currently not doing too well in the overall leaderboard, but could maybe, if everything turns out Mark's way, come through, possibly? I actually don't know. I don't think he can. But I'm going to throw it out there.
Any player that scouts here, I think, knows exactly what Marks is trying to do. The signal is clear. Seraphine fully prepped on the bench, waiting for that level 7, waiting for that roll down after Wolves to try and find a Graves as well. And try and assemble one of the strongest comps that we've seen throughout this tournament, the Graves Seraphine comp. One of the best comps for top 4ing especially. The augments are pretty good. First aid kit is going to help out, but not ideal. You want to find maybe that cybernetic, that better together as that third augment choice at 4-2.
I think that honestly, Better Together is probably the only one that might be better than First Aid Kit, because if you start building healing items, if you start, the shields from the Seraphine becomes stronger and stronger overall, right? Like, as long as you have like a combination of those, and prep being one of the really big ones as well, like, you can kind of skip on the Better Together, even though it is probably the most optimal augment.
I mentioned Crescent might pay the price for that Rich Get Richer in Stage 4, but I think he's already paying for it. 49 HP for him. We're halfway through Stage 3. The Carousel has arrived. Graves is there, but only with a Rod. Maybe not the ideal component to have. Crescent says, hey, I want to take it anyway. Maybe even just to grief the other players that are trying to get this comp rolling.
Yeah, Revan actually picking up a Nyla with a crit glove, has a bunch of tiers currently on the board, and was on the Lilia trend last time we saw him. So I'm more than curious to see how that Lilia progress is looking for now.
Could be an Archangels, could be the chance for a Hand of Justice. Ionic Spark has already been built, so I think this is a pretty clear commitment. Scalescorn Emblem as well off of that tome that he got on the Krug. So it's looking good for Revan. Revan said Odessa. He's Spanish. I'm Spanish. He played Lilia. I'm going to play Lilia as well coming into this game 5. And Panda wants to say watch out a little bit more often. So these Spanish players, they're not going to make it to day 3, but at least they're letting me, get my dream, let it come true.
That's a Spanish way of life, Find one reroll, come and just let it slide, or what? I mean...
Italy worked a little bit better than this, though, I have to admit.
I am very curious to see where Super Eagle is, because like we said, he was on the cusp of that top 8 breakdown. And if he goes out with a first here, I think his chances are pretty good to make it in there. Of course, keep in mind we are in snake seeding, so several people can get a first and still maintain their positions that they're currently in, but maybe, just maybe, it's enough for Super Eagle. So I want to see where he is currently heading with his comp. Last time we saw him, he was on that cybernetic uplink. I'm actually not sure what he picked up a second, but as it's a silver, shouldn't be too big of
Stand United, that's a pretty big one, right? Like, it does give, a lot of power, and again, it's not quite the Stand United that we saw at the start of Set 7, where you had to be differentiated between AD and AP, I believe, right? So, bit of a different one, but still, it's a very good arc. We haven't seen it really shine as much as you would like in the game so far, but it's that you're putting out here makes us a Graves on the bench.
Yeah.
Graves on the bench. You have the Hand of Justice and the Bloodthirster that can perfectly go onto that Graves if you decide to go into that Seraphine comp. Players have to start scouting, have to start seeing, Marks is 100% going that comp. He had the Seraphine prepped, he has, clear signals, he's going for that. Players have to decide, is it worth contesting? Is it worth moving into something else? You have a Jade board right now set up for the Shimmer skill, but maybe Jade is an angle as well. Uplink, surprisingly, can work very well with Xiaoyu and Siphon as well. Yeah,
even though Xiaoyu is mana locked while she is in her Jade stance, it's incredibly good on something like the Siphon, right? Because the continuous mana gen is very nice. Sometimes it can kind of be a bit of a detriment, actually, because sometimes it's going to be dashing away from the target because of the 5 extra mana it's going to gain from uplink, but most of the time it's a net positive.
Yeah, and we can see just how much healing the Guardians with that Anima Visage do. Darkest board does not want to budge, but the Volibear will profit off of that Enrage and come through.
Talking about Seraphine Graves, another player that's giving clear signals. Double Zeke's already built on the Zeri. One of these players is going to start crying himself to sleep tonight if he's not able to hit, because on the 4-1 roll down, Bricks, we saw him natural a Graves 2. Whichever player is not able to hit is going to probably go bot 4 in this case.
The big thing here as well, right? Like, as the Shimmer skill items have been nerfed over the course of the set, back in the day, I said this as I'm about 55 years old, this would have been the Diamond Hands ready to go right now, but Super Eagle will have to wait for the conclusion of the next fight or during the next fight for it to get completely online.
2 Lilias, stealing them from poor Revan. Super Eagle, please sell these 2
He's gonna sell them
another
off.
one in the shop. What is this? What is this luck? Super Eagle, Revan, or no, Lekoko rather, finds the Zac 3, finds the Kaisa 2 here as well. A second Kaisa, I imagine, and is on his way to a Kaisa 3. We haven't seen too much of that in this tournament. We saw it yesterday in the NA Regionals, but not so much in EMEA.
Yeah, I think there was 3 boards in total that went for a Kaisa reroll with the 6 Dragon Mancers. And other than that, Kaisa didn't get an awful lot of showtime.
Yes, and again, with Kaisa being nerfed a little bit, right, the Dragon Master trait being taken down a notch as well, this has been more of a transitional board, but I have played this a couple of games on this patch actually just to get a feel for it, just to know what, and again, the Kaisa free spike here is going to be massive, but again, Crescent on a similar path, or at least was the last time we looked into his board.
Absolutely. I am very impressed with Raiko, I have to say, is still streaking. We saw him level up, I believe, to 7 or 8. I'm not 100% on that just now, so still leading over the others as of right now. And Crescent and Lumarpin, as well as Lekoko, are starting to look for the top of the lobby as they're falling off with Raiko on 96 HP still.
And 140 stacks of Lagoon have been hit for Lekoko. The Chain Vest pops out, starting to get more and more components. Not going to get another component for a little while, but still, it's the great trade that Lagoon. And now we see here another augment coming in. Gold augment for all of our players in the last game of the day, the last augment of the day. Cybernetic implants is a possibility, but a reroll is much more likely for the comp that's currently being played here by Coco.
Yes, and I was about to point out, I actually was, I was making like hand movements because you see the way that he was starting to move units off of the board. That's a clear indicator of him wanting to find something that wasn't specific to that board.
2 more.
Looking for the Kai'Sa, finds the Jax 3 here, needs 2 more Kaisas, keeps on rolling. Twitch 2 as an option, obviously doesn't want it, is just holding it to higher the chances, and here she comes. There was actually another one waiting on the left side, so Kai'Sa 3 being unlocked by Lakoko.
We saw yesterday, or I saw yesterday in the NA Regional Finals. You did as well, Mix. You were in the chat as well. I saw you
I was
late
in the chat.
Night.
I'm always chatting.
Kai'Sa was sometimes put into the front row depending on what matchup was coming up. If it was a Xayah, for example, because you want to have that extended range and that chance to let Kai'Sa snipe some backline carries on your opponent's board.
Yeah, and this is kind of like the picture of the differences between the ways of playing Kai'Sa right now. Crescent here on a much more transitional board for it, quite frankly, whereas Lakoko with that trade sector has fully committed.
100%. We are seeing the diamond hands on Crescent's board though, so maybe that's going to throw a little bit of a roadblock in the way. Doesn't seem like it though. Bard trying to assist, gonna take out the Kai'Sa regardless, not gonna be enough. And Lumarpin has dropped down to 28, finds a Xiaoyu too. Hopefully that's going to stabilize the board. We're not sure what he's currently on. He does have an Asol on the bench waiting, but is looking for that Soifan. 0 goals, not a good position, 6 losses.
So depending on the items here, I was about to say, he could play, just straight up Xiaoyu plus Aurelion Sol, right? That's something we've seen.
Dragons?
Much more common, however, is going to be this setup here. Has a
that's
duplicator.
Did not see the champion duplicator was hidden there. Now it's a much better spot.
There's no Gnar on the board, so no shapeshifter bonus.
These TG items, what is the Shyvana doing? All of a sudden gets an Archangel and a JG Dragon's Descent into that backline. There is a Mystic Emblem from the opponent, so some of that AP, some of that magic damage will be resisted, but Graves is only 1-star for now, and Shyvana jumps right into that back lane. The Xiaoyu still left alive, taking on units 1 by 1. Graves alive as well, but the CC should be able to win that 1v1, and it will be a win for Lumarpin, staying alive, staying somewhat healthy in the stage 4.
So a bit of a micro, perhaps a mishap. That didn't end up getting punished, but again, 2 shapeshifters on the bench right now. This Karma is not doing anything. Probably should have been the Gnar.
Yep.
Actually, very interesting here from Lumarpin that he decides to go with that Shyvana. We are seeing that again and again. If you cannot find the Siphon, the Shyvana is a really good option if you have more AP-directed items, or she's just the first one to come through. So really, really good pickup here as an alternative to that Siphon comp.
I'm curious what's going on with Crescent, Darkest, and Marks, all players that were angling towards Graves and Seraphine. This is the stage at which these players are trying to hit the Graves 2-star. Whoever hits first will be in a good spot at the top 4. Everyone else might be in trouble, and I think Crescent is now the player that might be in a lot of trouble. Maybe because he picked Rich Get Richer in the first augment lead up.
Panda, come on!
I mean, to be fair, no, it's a fair criticism. I will give him that, right? But again, I feel like he did play it out and try to maintain tempo with the way he played it out here. Picking up that Soraka can be big, to be fair. Again, has a duplicator now from the Diamond Hands as well. That's probably like one of the less talked about strengths of that specific Shimmer Scale item. But if you look at the board, it is a kind of a sad concoction of things that doesn't really go together. It's not even going to utilize the Soraka for its... Oh, he is going to, again... Okay, that is pretty hard to see, right? Like,
it's pretty hard to see. These players are doing us dirty, trying to hide the unit from us, but
Idas
2 is huge. You don't have the gold to do it, though. You have to lock here. You still have HP to survive one more fight, though.
Yeah, definitely does have a champion duplicator as well, but on the other side is something waiting, and it's gonna bonk you on the head. Let's see if the Lilia can keep up with the Kai'Sa. I'm very curious to see Kai'Sa items, not necessarily what you would have wanted if you were going for that Kai'Sa in the endgame, whereas Revan has locked himself into Lilia and does want to roll with these items.
The double Dragon's Claw, though, first on the Zac, the uplink helping the shields go up, denying so much time here for this Lilia that's currently stuck, and the watch out is not quite enough because first she was stuck on one tank, then on the second, and the Kai'Sa can do it for Crescent, can get another big win here, and now buys in the time to buy this Idas, have an even stronger front line for these next few fights.
And, as well, worth noting here, Revan is one of the players that you need to start knocking down. The Braum Free is going to be a nice upgrade, absolutely, but again, Lilia Free is the big one, as he is going to be rolling for it. He's currently still 3 copies off. There's no extra duplicator or anything like that. He has to just, fight him in the shop, quite natural.
Yeah, and he is looking for them slowly but surely, rolling. One more in the shop, needs 2 more to try and complete that. Lilia, 1 more, finds it here in this shop, needs to sell something off to pick her, and then he's going to need 1 more to finally get to the damage spike that he so desires.
Double exiles as well. A lot of shielding for all of the units, but now it's Lilia versus the Graves. Lilia right in front of the Graves, maybe in a dangerous position. The Hodge will help with the healing. Is it enough? It seems to be the case. Watch out, Graves. Now you are going to die there. Zeri left by herself alongside Seraphine. 1 more burst kill here might be enough. If this Lilia can get the kill on the... Oh, it doesn't get the kill on the Seri, though, and all of a sudden the fight turns, but Diana is still left alive as a secondary carry with Hand of Justice. Her damage comes in as a burst at first, then you have to wait a little bit longer, and now finally the second burst comes through. Revan gets a win, and he's 1 off of Lilia Makes. He has a chance to get a roll and hit another big power spike.
First, he's going to go in to the Dragon. Make sure you check out the link that the command AMD gets you. There's a giveaway hidden behind that link. Do not just spam AMD chat. I believe in you. You can do it. And we're going to take a look for Revan what this one's going to be. Finds a spatula, does look at it, is maybe enticed by it.
This is really bait. I like the fact you switched it because it was incredibly bait. The loaded dice unnecessary right now. The spatula, you cannot really make anything specific with it, right? There's no open chain risk. This
Easy Rot Bramble. You have the Gunblade for Diana as well.
Keeps on rolling. Keep in mind, 1 Lilia still missing. We need that Lilia to come through.
There it is.
Revan finds it here. Next stop, Diana 3.
Quick level 7 as well here. I think it's definitely worth the investment of gold to go up and get maybe, I'm not sure what you can put it in, just another Rel 2 might even just be enough to get some more tankiness onto the board. Gunblade on Diana, Bramble. Gonna be the ZZ Rot, as we mentioned earlier, onto the Rel there as well.
Yeah, and decides to stay level 6. Okay, never mind. It's going to be a last-second level up for that Assassin, just for a little bit extra damage for that Diana as well.
Crescent actually down to 9 HP, might get knocked out here, but we're going to take a look at Revan and Lekoko, who are fighting it off. And look at the Diana, she's right on to the Kai'Sa. Lilia taking care of a tank that's waiting in the middle, and she's just going to take so much time. Diana's shield comes through, though, takes out the Kai'Sa, and allows her to live here. However, Crescent takes an L, takes an 8th, and is knocked out here.
Very unfortunate for Crescent. I will not say anything more, but this is going to be a stage 5 early defeat for the Russian player here. Coco also takes a hit there against Revan, down to 6 HP. Darkest, who had a very good start. We talked about the players that were all contesting each other on that Seraphine Graves comp, and now maybe suffering from that possibility, the fact, he hit Graves too, actually, so not looking too bad here, but has the Terra with the Enemy Visage as the front line. Mystic Emblem as well is big in this lobby, so much AP rolling around.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different one, right? Like, this is not necessarily the slot in con, the one you look at the guides and stuff like that, but the damage reduction coming through from the monoliths is also going to be quite nice.
Yeah, Lekoko 6 HP, and we're going to see him on the other side of the board. Darkest is waiting, and that Graves looks like he's ready to destroy some units. Kai'Sa in the left-hand corner looking to do the same, so let's see if she can survive here, if the Graves is going to come around. She's right onto him, takes out another ult. Graves surely, but safely dropping down, falls on over. That Terra is not going to be in the way of the Kai'Sa, and she will take out this board.
Kai'Sa can do it all by herself. Not enough stall there, and the Graves dies a little bit too soon. Stuck on the Zac for so long in that fight.
Look at the Kai'Sa damage.
And that's just it. The comp is still good, but again, it might just be good enough for a 7th place, right? But another thing we didn't really talk about here, Chaos Dragon, your favorite item in the game, David, is going to come into play now because, again, you can get those Orin items, you get, all types of good stuff here. So,
Rocket Propel Fist, we saw it there at the very start of the fight. I think 1 or 2 fights. This is a spot where many players already have a good idea of what everyone's comp looks like. They're not scouting much. They're more rolling, trying to get those final upgrades, rolling for those 3 costs. They might miss that Rocket Propel Fist for a few fights, and one bad fight where your carry gets hooked, like this Ao Shin here, and it could be a lot of trouble. That's the case there. Oh, so unfortunate, but good for Coco, who is currently sitting on 6 HP, needs to win every single fight.
Yeah, and he's doing just exactly that. The last second slam, making sure the Azol gets grabbed right in front of that Kai'Sa for her to take take him out, and that's going to be yet another win for Lekoko. And he is currently fighting the lobby leader, so that will be really, really good for him as well.
And one thing here that's really big, look at the bench for Lekoko. Yes, there's Duplicator, but there's 2 item removers, so he can continuously bounce this one off again and again and again. And that's going to be super important because, again, he needs to guarantee these wins. He's on 6 HP.
Carousel comes through. Shroud, very, very good in the late game for pretty much every single comp. If you have your item carries already done, yeah, Coco going to go right for it. Going to try and play the griefing role here. Going to try and make everyone in this lobby hate him. Game 5, you have to do whatever it takes to try and guarantee your spot in tomorrow. Lekoko, of course, 55 points. I think sitting pretty safe now in the top 8. Going to almost guarantee a spot for tomorrow. But just in case, he needs to make sure he can grief some more players, get those points up in the standings.
Yeah, and Darkest and Lumarpin both took a loss in the previous round. They're on 2 and 6 HP. They need to look for an out here, Wida.
Level 9, though, that could be the deciding factor. Will be getting that Jace onto the board here for Dragon situation, but not the full AP setup that we've gotten used to.
Surprised Lumarpin is still alive. Maybe some good Thieves Glove roll on the Shyvana. We did see, of course, the Shyvana 2 off of the Champion Duplicator. Some pretty good augments as well. Knife's Edge overall very good for Siphon, very good for Xiaoyu. And Uplink very good for everyone, really, aside from the Xiaoyu maybe a little bit. But I think good optimization. I think Xiaoyu has perfect items, Bloodthirster, Titan's Resolve, and the Edge of Night.
Just a quick note, we have 4 cybernetic uplinks in this lobby and cybernetic implants, but we're going to go into fight between Lumarpin and Lekoko. Both are here fighting for their lives. It's going to be dragons against the Dragon Mancers. Kaisa is on the left-hand corner trying to take out the Siphon as it dashes away from her. She is still onto him. She still tries to fight, but those dragons won't budge. Ida, Xiaoyu, and Shyvana are still alive. There's only a Zac in their way, allowing that Kaisa to keep on going 1 against 2. She will be able to take it, and Lekoko survives.
What is this Zac made of? He was able to stall out for so long in all these fights.
You look at the items, right? Any crit damage neglected, pretty much. A declaw as well, just to block the mag damage, and a lot of HP. And with the way the Guardian trade works, the more HP you have, the better. And on top of that, a big thing here, itemization-wise on the Kaiser, the Giants, they're doing a ton of work against a board like that.
Yeah. Quick note here, as the Diana 3 is being found by Reven, the Darkest also got knocked out here, was doing really, really well in the overall tournament, but this just might be what knocks them over into the bracket where they don't continue to tomorrow. So we're going to have a look at our standings after this game, but for now, it's on Lekoko to keep on surviving.
Diana's stuck in the Malphite, but now there's been an absolute burst of damage on that right side. Lilia onto that Zac once again. The Dragon's Claw is huge for both of the magic damage from Lilia and the Diana. They can't quite reach the Kaisa. They're stuck on this Zac for so long. What is this Zac made of? He's a 2-cost tank. He just doesn't die. The Lilia can't do it. No watch outs needed for this Zac, and Kaisa still doing it all by herself with, I guess, just with the help of Zac as a tank. Another big win for Coco. Reven not quite taken out, I think, but almost going to be the case.
Yeah, and again, the Shroud here came through massively because it meant that the Lilia was not able to really, get her watch out in position because it took her so long. And again, and a positioning thing that needs to be looked at here as well. The route for the Lilia to go to the Kaisa was so long because she had to go all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. We are on to my favorite unit, the Treasure Goblin, as we're going to pick up a Rabadon's. Not the greatest pickup for Reven for sure. We're going to see what everybody else is on as the economy overlay is on the right side. We can see Raiko has those dragons online. Super Eagle has those dragons online. And then it's the Lilia reroll, the Lagoon Grave Seraphine, and TFT marks, of course, on that Kaisa reroll.
And Reven still level 7, 22 gold, was stuck on level 6 for so long rolling for that Lilia. Now maybe still going to be rolling for that Hecarim 2-star possibly here. Has a chance to slot in Nunu as well, but it's only a Nunu 1-star. Opts not to unless he finds that upgrade, and it looks like no, not going to go for the Nunu at all. Doesn't find that Hecarim either. That last little bit of a power spike that he can get here for this last fight, possibly because he's only sitting at 7 HP makes.
Yeah, and he will go up against Marks, and Marks has that Graves ready. All eyes on him with the support of the Seraphine, and whether or not they can take out that little Lilia. Diana in the backline getting stuck on something that she shouldn't be onto while the Grays decimate what's in his path. This is not looking good for Reven. I don't think the Diana can bring this back. She takes out the Soraka, but the Soraka heals once more, and that will be it for Reven as he gets knocked out.
And no healing item on the Grays, but like, look at this. Full HP, even though the Soraka barely got her cast off. Just again, the sheer size of the shields.
Yeah, the Coco also finding a loss here, actually going out 5th, Reven following 4th, and there is a big upgrade for Raiko, who finds that Shyvana too.
Two players that are still left alive in this game 5, Raiko and Super Eagle. 2 players that could still fight for that top 8 spots. Raiko sitting at 40 points on the standings. Super Eagle at 42. Lelouch currently 8th before this game started at 46. So still mathematically possible. Will depend on what other players do. But these players both have to fight for a first place to have the best chance possible to make it to day 3.
Yeah, and TFT Marks looking to hopefully find another win, but Raiko's board looks really strong. The Dragon's Descent comes down onto the entire comp. The Grave gets CC'd a whole bunch, and now in comes Aoshin's Lightning Rain, and it blazes the entire field, knocks out anything and everything except for the Graves and the Zek, who are still trying to hold on. I'm not sure if he can take it. Shyvana
Wait a minute.
not
Last
going
cast?
to be able to hold one more cast from the Aoshin.
Oh,
It's
what
not
is this
enough.
Graves made out of? Again, gets the win. The Titans not healing him, but giving him more armor as the fight progresses. The Rage Blade allowing him to attack faster, generate more mana. And Aoshin, this is why we were talking about Acel being a more consistent dragon to win you the games, because sometimes if that second cast doesn't come in, you lose these very close fights.
Yeah, and Super Eagle's board here, it's a bit, you know, it's a sign of beauty. I quite like where this board is going here. It makes a decision that's, quite frankly, the Aoshin 1 is better than the Deja 2 right now.
Keeps on rolling, but cannot find yet another upgrade. Would have very much liked to upgrade either the Aoshin or the Bard to something more useful here as he goes up against Raiko.
Fight of the Dragons, the fight of the Aoshins. Whoever casts first on the side of the Aoshins might be deciding the fight, especially for the aggro if they tank the Lightning Rain onto the Aoshin. It's going to be Super Eagle first, but doesn't quite hit the enemy Aoshin just yet. Gives the extra mana for the cast to come in from the opponent's side, and all of a sudden, it's all down to the Shyvana here. Can she do it all by herself? I'm not so sure it's going to be the case. The Diamond Hands is a little bit too big here, and Aoshin's second cast is coming through from the side of Raiko, and maybe this is what decides the top 8 for tomorrow. If Raiko can get a win here and a win in this game, it's going to be so big for him. Mark's taken down to the players, Raiko and Super Eagle, the 2 players that need to have this first place for the day 3.
And actually, Super Eagle is now in the top 2, and I'm not sure if that's enough. I think he needs to beeline for the first place.
Yeah, gonna be ending at 49 points if that's the case, and one more than Raiko would end all that. But like, look at the setup right now. This is all about trying to find that, but it's a super contested 8 drop that he has to find right. That's not gonna be easy here. And even like straight down to something like the Shyvana is not gonna make it's not gonna make it better.
2. Not enough gold, though. Like, unless you sell the Acel here or the Shyvana.
Yeah, you sell the Acel, of course. What are you going to do with that Acel? 1-0. You could have also sold off the Shyvana, but Raiko decides to hold on to her, does not want to give that one over to Super Eagle as we go into what could be the final round of the final game of day 2.
The biggest difference maker has to be the Aoshin. That's 2-star on the side of Raiko, only a 1-star for Super Eagle. The augments are all good. There's combat augments on both sides, but I think right now Raiko's Aoshin is going to be that much more powerful. It's going to be an earlier cast with the Spear Shojin on the side of Super Eagle, but that allows the mana generation to come in on Raiko's side. Same story as the last fight, and once again, all of a sudden, the Aoshin survives on the side of Super Eagle. Could that be enough? The second cast might come through. It might be enough with less targets to hit here, but Raiko is going to survive the Aoshin cast for a 3rd time here in the fight here, and that will be the end of it. Super Eagle should be able to win it, get past the invulnerability on the Diamond's Hand, and that will be the win for Raiko. The Italian player is trying his best to make it to day 3, gets 8 points in the final game of the day, but is now sitting at 48 points, which I think is just might not be enough, Guido.
Now, and again, we don't really know enough about the breakoffs with this format, right? It is a newer one for us.